Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Kay here and I am joined once again by my very good friend Roger Clark.
Hi, how's it going, everyone?
Today we're going to be talking about the video game that's been on my radar for so long now. And I'm so excited to talk about Fort Solis.
Yeah, yeah. You've already played it, haven't you? I haven't played it yet. I'm getting the
No.
code either today or tomorrow.
Oh my God.
I don't
I,
think I'll get it today, though, because Dear Villagers have hopped on as producers, the amazing crowd over in France. And today's a national holiday over there, so I'm not sure I'll get the.
yes. I
But I
think
will.
I was lucky because I got the release code on think it was Wednesday or something. So it was literally just before the day broke off, and then days later I was chatting to them, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll get back to you soon, but we're about to have a holiday." So I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, I'll be playing it definitely tomorrow, and I can't wait. I can't wait to introduce it. We're going to Cologne, Gamescom,
Yes.
one of the largest conventions for gaming in the world. Me, Troy, and our wonderful colleague Julia Brown are going to be there, and we're going to introduce the last trailer with
Wow.
Jeff Keighley, and then right as soon as the last trailer is revealed, the embargo is lifted, and everyone's able. They're going to be able to get it on Steam and PS5.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. We don't know what well I don't you never know what to expect. It ain't nothing until it's something, but it was such a joy to work on it, and the feedback that we've gotten so far is really positive. It's not Red Dead, it's nowhere near as long.
No.
You'll get this done, and you could get this done in a if you binged it in one night, you could probably get it done, or a lot, or you could, if you really wanted to take your time, it's a weekend game. So it's something for the people. It's for someone who's like interested in burning away a night or what have you in terror.
It only took me about 4 hours, but the whole time I was like, like I was on the edge the whole time, and I loved that the suspense never changed. It was just completely one note. Even when stuff was starting to get revealed, it didn't change at all. It was just carried on, and it was so good.
I'm glad to hear it. It was amazing to be back at doing mocap again, and every time I go back into the studio to do mocap in the volume, I'm just blown away by how much the technology has advanced, even if it's just been a couple of months. But just so you all know, I mean, it's not full price. Don't be worried about that. This is not a triple A game, although it is. I think it's the first game to be done completely on Unreal 5.2.
Wow.
Yeah, so it is going to be some of the better graphics that you've ever seen. Can you imagine? It's a crew of 10 people. The studio is 10 people, and
It's mental.
they spit it out, and took them 24 months.
That's insane.
And no delay. No delay. They didn't delay it. Almost everything gets delayed twice, in my experience.
Mhm.
Red Dead got delayed twice. Every major title always seems to get delayed twice. Fort Solis, no delays. 10 people spat that out in 2 years. It's pretty impressive, isn't it?
That's insane.
We'll see how impressive it is once all you guys have gotten the chance to play it. But yeah, it gave me a lot of people have been comparing it to other things, but one of the things I haven't seen them compare it to that much is that Alien game that was out like maybe 10 years ago. I remember that had very much the same vibe because it was excellent design. Is it Resurrection? Oh no, that was the film. I'm thinking Isolation. Alien.
Isolation, yeah.
So the thing I loved about that game was the design. The design was so perfect, and it matched the films entirely. And I was playing that game well over an hour, just walking around before I saw
Yeah.
any hint of a monster, alien, for lack of a better word. And the tension was so, I couldn't believe it. It was built up so
Mhm.
much. I feel that Fort Solis has that too.
Absolutely. Like for a game that's so short, it doesn't, and that's not an insult to the game. Like if it's short, it's short. Like that doesn't mean anything to me. Like that's just it's a short
Hey,
game and it's
there's
enjoyable.
different. everybody, we're starting to see that now. When you go to the library, you can get a really big book or you can get a small book, and
It doesn't change the context or
one's just as enjoyable as the other.
mm,
It's about what you're in the mood for. And I think we're
exactly.
seeing that in gaming now too. And as long as it isn't overpriced, which I don't believe it is, I don't know the exact prices from everywhere, but I know it's not a full AAA game price. As long as it's not overpriced, then everybody's happy. And I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this.
Yeah. So Fallen Leaf is a pretty new studio. What can you tell us about the team?
Brand new studio. They operate out of Liverpool, England, and they're headed by a guy called James Tinsdale, who's got a lot of experience under his belt. He's worked a lot over in the Northwest America, over by Microsoft's headquarters over there, and the amazing art director too, by the name of Mark Cushley. They've been at the helm of this game, and from experience, whenever anyone is at the helm of a ship, they've got to be very motivating. They have to know exactly what they want, and their brain has to be an entire encyclopedia based on whatever the project that they're working on is, and that is James Tinsdale down to a T. He, you can't help but get excited when you're working with him, and he knows everything. He knows everything. It's quite fascinating, and Mark has got loads of experience under his belt, and it's not just those two either, but the amazing team underneath them have just been spitting it out and working so hard to get Fort Solis out on the date that they said it would happen. And of course, they've been doing this in conjunction with Black Drakkar out of Poland, led by an amazing guy, Peter Kurkowski, I think his name is. I
Yeah.
may be wrong. And then Dear Villagers have hopped on as our producers, and they've got a long list of successful games under their belt too, and we're very proud to release it on PC and on PS5 August 22nd. That's when the digital release comes out, and then you'll be able to get the physical copy
Mm.
September 20th, I believe.
The limited edition one just looks beautiful. It looks so good.
Yeah, and me and Troy and Julia are going to be on stage with Jeff announcing it at Gamescom. And I've been to Cologne before, but never for this convention. It's not really like a lot of the cons that you and I have been to. It's more professional, more industry based, less fan, celebrity, autograph based. And those are the ones I like, because I like all of them, to be honest, but I love those ones for a change too, because you get to see what's coming up, all the new stuff that's
Mm.
coming. Like, whereas with the cons that we go to, we focus on the past, right?
Yes. Hmm.
But the industrial conventions, it's all about what's coming ahead, and it's going to be really fascinating. Meet some really cool people, and Germany's got great beer and food, so
Of course, yeah.
yeah.
So I have to ask because when you guys teased the picture originally, I was like, what's going on? Like, I had no idea. But you and Troy Baker are finally working together in a game.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, as soon as I knew he was on board, I was like, yes. And even more surprisingly, vice versa. I've been a huge fan of Troy's even before he knew I existed. I literally was studying him whilst I was working on
Wow.
Red Dead Redemption 2. I was watching Uncharted 4, and I played all of those. What's the one where it's the girl with the big machine? Uh he's in that. Anyway, he plays one of the he's the lead in that. And I loved that one too. And all of Troy's games, even when he was the Joker and I didn't even know it until halfway through
Mhm.
that was the game. I've been a big fan of Troy's. What's the other one too? The Lord of the Rings one. He was awesome in that. And the fact that we would finally get the chance to work with each other was awesome. So we worked together for a couple of weeks out in the UK doing the mocap for Fort Solis, and we had an amazing stunt coordination team. And we did all of our own stunts. That I don't want to give too much away, but myself and Troy do come to a bit of a tete-a-tete at the end of the game. And I just want you to know that we worked a lot on it, very hard on it. and it's all us. It's all us.
That's crazy. Oh my
Oh yeah,
god.
yeah. We were rehearsing it a lot, and Troy, as far as I know, Troy, there is still a Troy arsed shaped hole at Centroid in London because he went through a wall. I didn't do it. It wasn't me.
You can be honest, Roger. You can tell me
No,
if
it
you
wasn't
have.
me. I did not put him through a wall. He was rehearsing it with one of the stunt guys, and they put him through the wall. I am far more professional than that, obviously.
Yeah, okay, Roger.
Yeah, there's still and I think they kept it. I think they kept it, and he signed it next to it.
Nice.
Troy was here, yeah, yeah. But there's definitely an arse-shaped hole at Centroid right now. And for hi to the folks at Centroid, thank you. It was wonderful working at your spa.
This is so hard because I want to talk so much about Troy's character because my mind is just blown by the whole thing. Obviously, I'm not going to go too much into it, but
The thing about Troy's character is you don't know whether he's right or not.
yeah.
And I
I
think
mean,
that's that question is never answered.
yeah. I mean, I did have a lot of sympathy for him, and the more that I played it, and then I was speaking to James Tinsdale about it and stuff, and trying to get to figure out a bit more, I did have more sympathy. Um, yeah, I actually really do feel for him, and I think this is probably one of Troy's best performances
Wow.
because you don't ever see him play a character like that
Yeah.
ever.
I've seen him do bad guys excellently before, but nothing quite like this. Yeah, I
No,
agree with you.
this is not like your typical like twiddling your fingers bad guy. This is like
Oh, no, like most bad guys, he believes in what he's doing, you know? Like most people, he believes what he's doing is right. And it's very hard to convince someone to stop doing what they're doing when they believe what they're doing is right.
do you sympathize with the character?
Well, I like the fact that the question is never answered, but as far from my perspective, I just got to look at him like, no, I don't sympathize with him because him and me are naturally in conflict,
Yes.
from very early on in the story. So, does Roger sympathize? Yes. If I was approaching the character of Wyatt, I would hope to that I would do it as well as Troy did. I probably would approach it in the same fashion. But as far as playing Jack Leary is concerned, I do not sympathize one iota. No, I can't.
No. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, was it intimidating to work with Troy?
A little bit at first, a little bit, because but then he was very easily put me at ease.
That's good.
Yeah, we had spoken and met, and we had met beforehand, and we'd become friends. And him and I come from very different backgrounds. He is a voice acting legend who has such a huge amount of diversity in his range of voice and video game work. It's like unbelievable. His resume, we often forget how big and long his resume has already become, and
I know.
he's still a young guy, pretty much. And I think it's amazing what he's come up with, and the just the pure the level and the range of which we've seen Troy do in the last 10-15 years has been absolutely mind-blowing. And I come from theater,
Yeah, you're more classically trained.
and I don't have as much experience in voice acting and gaming as he does. So it was really cool to work with someone who did, after having done 5 years on Red Dead, and at the end of that, kind of being the veteran of that set, to then go to another set where someone was even more experienced was really awesome because I could ask him a few pointers and learn a few things. And every studio does it differently too, which he had known that years and years ago. I was just still getting to learn that because so much of my video game experience was with Rockstar Games, like 90% of it.
Mhm. So one person that I haven't mentioned or given a shout out yet was to Julia Bryan, who plays Jessica Appleton.
Yeah.
I love their chemistry. It's so dynamic. It's just so on point.
It's great to hear. She was awesome to work with, and a lot of people will recognize her from British telly. She's never off of it, but it was a real joy working with her. And for her, this was her first foray into mocap. So it was kind of really, it was in a ways helping her out. Kind of helped was a refresher course for me and Troy too, and and we having so many different levels of experience and us all being able to work together as a team. I felt it to be really helpful in just telling the story the best way possible, and and like I said earlier, the way the technology keeps advancing, Kay.
Mm.
Well, it's kind of I can't even I don't even understand a third of it, but what I do understand, it's absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. And less there's more and more freedom now that's being afforded to the animators and the performers, that and everything takes us a little less time than it used to too. So
Mm.
you can do more. You can do more with less. And really, it really is becoming a medium where your imagination is really the only boundaries.
Yeah. How would you describe Jack and Jessica's relationship?
Well, they are anyone who's working on Mars in that setting is clearly running away from something. So just for the listeners who don't know, so you're aware that Earth and Mars are both in orbit around the sun. And sometimes Earth and Mars are closer together than they are at other times. And well, what we anticipate is going to happen if and when we set up a colony on Mars is that when Mars and Earth are close together in orbit, then there'll be a lot of ships going back and forth in transit to bring
Okay.
supplies and whatnot. And then when Earth and Mars are furthest away from each other in orbit, that's when you're just going to have the skeleton shift on Mars. They're just going to be standing there making sure that everything kind of runs okay and doesn't break. Imagine Antarctica in the middle of January. You've just got a few people on those stations just making sure nothing breaks down, and that there's still a place to be there come spring when all the other scientists come back, when it starts to get a little bit more habitable. This is the same situation. So Jack and Jess are two engineers, maintenance engineers, who work on a couple of mining colonies on Mars. And they're there during the graveyard shift, which means that there's not a lot of people on Mars right now. And they're waiting on a couple of months before the ships start arriving again to bring the supplies and for people to go back and forth. So nobody, people really nobody looks for a shift like that unless there's something that they're trying to avoid, I find. It's a bit like that game Firewatch, if you've ever played that one, where the guy is just looking for forest fires in the middle of Washington parks. He's running away from his sick wife. And I think Jack and Jess are running away from their personal lives too to take on a job like this, which is so exclusive. And they're out in the middle of nowhere. And all they have really for social skills is each other.
Mhm.
And they've got these huge libraries and databases of films and whatnot. And they talk about those during the game a lot. But really, it's dull. It's dull and it's boring and it's quiet and there's no one around. So I think their relationship is very strong. I think it's purely platonic. I think, Jack's a little too old for Jess.
Yeah.
Jack's their boss too, by the way. So they have a very healthy relationship, a very good working relationship where they also socialize, when they're on their downtime, because there's no one else to talk to. So I believe they've known each other intimately for a couple of years now, at least a year or two. And I find their relationship to be really good. And I was so grateful that I had a wonderful actor like Julia to help me convey that truthfully. And yeah, yeah, Jack is the boss and Julia is the cheeky. She's the cheeky. They're both really solid at what they do, and in many ways Jess is better at stuff than Jack is.
Mhm.
she Jack sometimes is a little bit too impulsive. And I'm not sure what Jess is running away from. You'd have to ask Julia Brown that, but I know Jack definitely. You know, he's coming out of a relationship that didn't work, and he misses his children. But for the purposes of his life, he's decided to grind away on Mars and send some money home. In the wake of a broken marriage. We don't know the exact details of what went wrong, but we do know that he misses his daughters. You know.
I what I like most about Jack in general is that he's obviously he's got your voice. He moves I just completely see him as you. So like every little bit and piece that you do, I'm just like, that's so Roger. Like I don't know what it is, but
So Arthur or so Roger?
so Roger. Like
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, because I'm not a cowboy anymore, am I?
no, I think to compare Arthur and Jack, it's just it wouldn't make any sense in a logical sense. Like Jack's older, even in the way that he moves, I feel like he suggests in the rec room that, you know, he can't sit in a certain chair because of his back. And like he's like an older person and just I don't know. Is he
Yeah, that's
wiser than Arthur? Probably. I don't know, but
I don't know either, but I did like the fact that it was definitely a departure from what I had done before, and I'm really excited to show all the Red Dead fans a different side of what I can do, and I hope they all like it.
well, I definitely did.
Awesome. Very good. Glad to hear it.
Um, I genuinely don't have a lot of questions because I'm really, really bad at organizing stuff.
It's all
Um,
I'll answer them. Whatever you got, I'll answer. It's all good.
I mean, so like in terms of the story, I think it's a lot more than meets the eye. So what did you think of it, like when you first heard about it?
Well, I like we were talking about earlier. I love the fact that some questions never get answered. I always enjoy that in storytelling. I always enjoy it when the storyteller does doesn't underestimate the intelligence of the audience. And I love it when the storyteller lets the audience come to some of their own conclusions. And I think that's definitely in Fort Solis. By the end, yeah, I think everyone's going to have somewhat of a slightly different opinion once they played to the end. And there are, as we were chatting just earlier, there are a few different endings. But you know, once they get the canon ending, I think everyone's going to have some mixed opinions.
Yeah, it's like I've not got the other endings. I've finished my second playthrough
Right.
earlier,
You got the
and it
same
was
ending
I
thing,
got the
right?
same ending.
Right.
But then when you told me what you had to do to get a different ending, I was like,
That's
oh,
def- that's definitely one of the things you can do to get a different ending. I'm not sure. There might be others. I'm not sure. Yeah.
because I tried to do things differently, but I think there's some things that you physically just can't do any differently when you're doing your playthroughs.
Yeah.
So sci-fi and thrillers and stuff are getting like more and more popular, especially in the gaming world. What do you think of it as a genre?
Oh yeah, it's definitely picked up in the last year or so. But it's always been there. Like with Alien Isolation we were talking about. I mean, that's over 10 years old, and Dead Space was so popular that they we just saw a remake of that
Mhm.
earlier this year. So I think it's a very popular genre, not just in gaming, but in everything. You know, sci-fi thrillers have always been huge. And I love them. I love them. I remember Event Horizon being particularly scary. That was like about 20 years ago, I think, but there's no end of it because space is the final frontier, you know, and but you really cannot pick uh, a territory with more of the unknown in it. And
Mm,
that's what really appeals to me about space. And you're in such a hostile environment as Mars, where you're literally not supposed to be there. You're not supposed to survive there. It's only through human ingenuity and pure stubbornness that the reason why these characters are there is because you know they're mining resources on on a planet where they have no right being. You know they
yeah.
just wouldn't survive otherwise. So the fact that there's so many things that could go wrong, which would just spell their ultimate demise, is I think one of the other things that brings across a lot of tension, because there's a storm coming, and I realize these Martian storms, what's raining down on these 70-mile gale force winds are happening all over the place, and what's blowing around is literal rust. If you
Wow.
if you get any of that rust, like if you get a bit of that rust in your eye, or if you get it into an open cut, if any piece of your suit were to open up, I mean, and rust got in and you inhaled that, you'd be in a lot of trouble, let alone the fact that you got a pierced suit and then you have to deal with, sub-zero temperatures before you can get into some sort of containment. But everything on Mars is kind of lethal. And this storm gets worse throughout the night,
Mhm.
as it's a metaphor for all the other things that get worse throughout the
Mhm.
night.
Absolutely. So a friend of mine was like trying to compare it to Dead Space. How would you disprove that or
I've
otherwise?
ne- I've never played Dead Space.
I
I don't.
haven't either, so I couldn't say.
Well, I've heard so many good things. Everyone I know who's played it loves it. I've never played it. I don't know. Sorry.
Don't know either. Um,
I
so
think I might pick up the remake, but there's so many. I've got such a long list now. I want to check out Baldur's Gate 3 when it comes out on PS5, and I'm still finishing up Firewatch, but maybe I'll give Dead Space a go too. Yeah.
so was there a moment on set? I don't know. Were there any like just weird, funny moments on set, or were you just kind of mature, chill?
Well, like I said, working on the stunt, the big fight at the end was a lot of fun to do, and we worked really hard on it, and we had some really great stunt coordinators who helped us, and that was a lot of fun. And it was also fun being in the UK again, because I used to
Mm,
live there. So working back in London again was a lot of fun, and getting to know Julia Brown and the rest of the Fallen Leaf team and the team at Centroid where we did the mocap was really fun too. And if anyone who knows me, they know I love performance capture, and I go on about it a lot. With Red Dead, maybe 90% of it was done in the volume. Which is why when people say, "Oh, what was it like voice acting Arthur?" I always tell I didn't voice act him, and the look on their face is like, "What?" I didn't voice act Arthur and Jack, but Jack was a little more 50-50, I would say. No
really?
studios do it the same way. Yeah, and a lot of Jack, once they got my walk down, we did that. We worked on that for quite a bit, but once they got the walk down, it's you're playing it from his back's
Mm,
perspective. So we were able to get a lot of stuff done in the booth. We contemplative stuff where Jack is talking with Jessica through his ear, and all that was done in the booth. So there was a significant, much more amount of voice acting in Fort Solis, which was great too, because I'm not as experienced at that. So telling a story with just your voice is a new challenge, and I found that to be a lot of fun too. But as far as funny stories are concerned, I think Troy putting his arse through the wall was one of the top ones, definitely.
that's amazing. I think I'll have to poke him with a stick if I ever see him, just to tell me that whole story.
Oh yeah, yeah. I heard it. I was learning lines, and I was in the dressing room, and all I heard was boom. And I'm wearing my suit, so I can't go out to find out what happened. Because if I do, I might ruin a take, because my balls will pick up on the sensors, and then whatever they're doing, it might ruin. So I'm just like, what was that? It was loud, you know.
Wow.
Then I figured, if it's not a fire, if it's a fire, someone will come get me. That's usually what you assume. So nobody did. So I just carried on. And then finally, when I was called out, they're like, "Oh yeah, Troy just put a hole in the wall." And then I looked at the hole, and then I looked at Troy, like, "You all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Yeah, it was a big hole.
That's oh my god. My mind blown. Yeah, so it was a much smaller studio. Was it was it like astronomically different from working with in the Rockstar Studios, or was it quite similar in a
I mean,
sense?
the basic premise is similar, but a lot of the technology was different. You know, it's just a different studio, and you know, for every dev does it differently. You know, every dev does it differently. You know, the sound in particular was different, but yeah, with you know, having a smaller dev team, uh, you know, was really interesting. You know, it was great in a way because in many ways it took less time to have decisions be made. You know, that was a definite clear advantage. And also, you know, time had passed by, and so there was a lot more. The technology was a lot more advanced than than the system that we eventually started working on with Red Dead. So I'd be like, "Holy cow, you're able to do that now! Oh, that saves us hours." And like, yeah, yeah. So that was really fascinating as well. But I was really glad that I was able to get to do the in-game animations as well as the cutscenes. Because a lot of the times I see games where it's clear the in-game animation is clearly a different person
Mhm.
from what you see in the cutscenes. The character moves differently, and that always pulls me out of the immersion. And I can see it now. So whenever I can tell it's the same actor doing the in-game animations as well as the cutscene animations, and I'm like, okay, great. You know, I really appreciated the chance to be able to do that because I feel it makes you feel like you're Jack Leary now.
Oh, for sure.
And you become intimate with the way he walks and moves, and that doesn't erratically change based on a decision that you make, which I appreciate.
Yeah, it's as I said, Jack's just I find Jack really comforting. Like I just think he's this really warm cat. Like when I was writing down my notes, one of the first things that I wrote during my playthrough is Jack is too old for this shit. Like he just wants to I think he just wants to get through his life and then
Yeah, he's just about to go. He's just about to take a break. He's like, this is his last shift before a vacation. Yeah, he's about to go back home to his daughters. He hasn't seen them for about a year.
poor guy. Okay guys, so we got cut off. Zoom was being very stingy. So
They
um
used to do that during COVID. That nenever happened. Well, it did. It did during COVID. Like maybe after an hour it would happen, but now it's like boom, every 40, is it 40, 45
I
minutes?
think it's 40 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, every 40 minutes they've got it on the clock now. You know what I found very ironic recently? I've read that Zoom staff are now requested to go travel to the office and work in the office, which I find,
Wow.
isn't that funny? That's the definition of irony.
It really is. But yeah, so we've basically covered everything there is to cover on Fort Solis. It's coming
Well,
out. Well,
yeah, kind of. Yeah, everything that we're allowed to cover.
everything that we're allowed to
We don't want
cover.
to spoil it for all you awesome viewers, man. Yeah, yeah. Maybe, but we were saying maybe we'll meet up again and chat after it gets released, and maybe some of you might have more questions then. But we're very excited for you to see what this night of terror unfolds. It's a slow burner, isn't it, Kay? But in a
Oh
good
my
way.
god. It's as I said, it's like your heart's just racing from the word go. Like as soon as you enter the space, you're just like, I don't know what's gonna happen. And even when things are revealed to you, it doesn't change. It's just you're still on the edge, freaking out about everything.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah. So Roger, thank you so much for joining me. It's always such an honor to speak to you.
Great to be on here too. Thanks for having me, Kay. And thank you for all that you do.
Of course. Well, Fort Solis is out on the 22nd of August. All will be revealed at the Cologne. What's it? Cologne
Gamescom,
Con
one of the biggest
Gamescom.
in the world. Yeah, there's going to be loads of stuff going on. And yes, digital release on PC and PS5 August 22nd, and the hard copy comes out September 20th.
So cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so excited for all of you guys to witness Jack's story, what happens with him, and meet Wyatt and everybody. I'm so excited. It's such a good game. And yeah, thank you guys so much. I hope you all have a wonderful week, day, month, year, whatever. See you all soon.